And we are live. Hey guys, by special request tonight, I'm going to be analyzing a poem. The request was someone wanted to see how I break poems apart and how I come to the conclusions I do. And tonight we are going to be looking at Kathryn Jacobs' The Perfect Lie. So here we go. Just once, I'd like to try it. I could make a splendid mea culpa on the floor, a human puddle. But it's hard to fake a heinous crime. And you'd ask questions, more than I could answer, though the crying would be genuine enough. If sex would do, I swear I know the perfect lie. I could drag out a fantasy. I've good ones, too. Don't think I haven't. Tell you where and who, how I was tempted, also real enough, and beg forgiveness. But when I was through, suppose you didn't care or called my bluff. So here I am, too innocent to lie, and not quite miserable enough to say goodbye. So, what does this all mean? Well, let's kind of start with this. The reason I chose this poem is that it has three things, I think. Three really good things. I think it has some irony to it. The subtext to it is just brilliant, and poetic meter is not too hard to scan. There's not a whole lot of substitutions in this. A couple variations, but nothing major. But I want to go through the line and actually explain what this poem means and how I came to the conclusion. So I want to look at the first 2.5 lines. Just once, I'd like to try it. I can make a splendid mea culpa on the floor, a human puddle. So, first of all, what I think this signals is that this poem needs to be read in a tone of someone that has a lot of contempt for the person they're speaking to. And I get that. That's why I think, and the reason I think that is just read this first sentence with that idea. Just once, I'd like to try it. As in, I'd like to be the villain once, is basically what the narrator is saying. And you can get that because of this word right here, mea culpa, which means to, it translates as an acknowledgement of fault or error. Basically somebody saying, oh, this is my fault. So whoever they're speaking to, I believe this, like a human puddle, it's an insult. It is an insult to whoever they're speaking to. How I actually interpret this poem is that the narrator is tempted by the ideal of telling her husband that she's having an affair, even though she's not really having an affair, but she just wants to tell him that, so he can feel the pain that she's been experiencing. And as we go on, I'll justify why I came to that conclusion. But like I said, I really think this if you read that sentence with like a kind of an anger and bitterment to it, you can really hear what I'm saying. Like, just once, I'd like to try it. And this is I think this is an insult that she's throwing out there as a metaphor, like a human puddle. Like you can almost see the image, like somebody on their knees on the floor, crying, begging for forgiveness. And I think that scene, that idea is what the narrator means when they say a human puddle. So now that we got that out of the way, sending notes. These first 3 lines are all iambic. There is nothing really all that amazing to them. This line is actually the most of this lines. Like I said, there's a few things I'm gonna go over, but the majority of it is pretty easy to scan. But then we get but let's continue on. So now that the narrator has made their position known, they kind of have second thoughts about it. But it's hard to fake a heinous crime, and you'd ask questions, more than I could answer. So basically, what's one of the things that is keeping there's actually a few things as we'll go on. But one of the things that's keeping the narrator from actually doing this, actually telling a lie to hurt their hurt whoever it is. I'm assuming it's either the husband or boyfriend or some sort of romantic partner. Is that they'd ask questions that they don't have an answer to because it's a lie. You know what I mean? They'd have to fabricate answers. But as we continue on, though the crying would be genuine enough, and that expressed like this is the feeling they're feeling. Like what they're not happy. They're crying. Like that's the action the narrator wants to take. They just want to cry. And this is what leads me to believe they want to tell them that they lie about having an affair is if sex would do. So I swear I know the perfect lie. That's the lie. Telling them I'm having an affair is the lie. There's some interesting word repeating, like could and would repeat a lot. So I just want to kind of highlight that. Like we have would here. I'll just black them up so you can see them. There's a word. Here's a could. We have another word. Another could. See this word pops. Like you can almost like would, could, should. That's kind of like what I'm getting out of it. It's the kind of idea. So let's see. So you can see these words repeat a lot. It kind of gives it a little bit of a repetition. And you turn around. This line actually has like the 1, 2, 3 eyes and a lie. So you can hear that long I repeats a lot in this line as well. But anyways, to continue on, I could drag out the fantasy, and I want to highlight this part. I'm going to highlight because grammatically this is kind of hard to understand. This section I just blacked. I have good ones too. Don't think I haven't. If you took that out, really what it says, I could drag out a fantasy, tell you who and where, how I was tempted. Like so, grammatically, this is just if you deleted this is the sentence, right? If you delete what I had highlighted, the rest of it's the sentence. So that's, and this is actually a critique I have for the poem. If I was to critique it, I think following this up, it's kind of hard to the tonal shift. I mean, I understand it. That's what these M dashes are for, but I think it's just hard if you were to say this out loud to do. But anyways, and I want to just touch on a meter here because we're starting to get a few interesting things. So right here, I think these two lines open with both open with spondace. It gives it kind of a heavy sound. You really think about like drag out, don't think. So those when I scan these poems, I got scan these two as spondace, very heavy openings. The next thing I want to get into is for a meter is something called rhetorical stress, and it's really has to do with this line right here. How I was tempted, also real enough. There was two ways you can scan this line, and they were both correct. It could be how I was tempted, also real enough, or how I was tempted, also real enough. And the reason you could, and this is what I mean by rhetorical, sometimes when people scan poems, like if you have two people scan a poem, they will both not reach the same conclusion on every line. And one of the reasons is rhetorical stress. And what rhetorical stress is I'm sure you've all heard this term. It's not what you say, but how you say it. That's rhetorical stress. And the reason I think that this is a trochee opening is because when you have the just before you have the where and who falling on the accented stress positions. So tell you where and who. And so I just think the where, who, why, and how, it just makes sense to me that this line opens with the trochee. How I was tempted, also real enough. And the reason you could, and this is what I mean by rhetorical, sometimes when people scan poems, like if you have two people scan a poem, they will both not reach the same conclusion on every line. And one of the reasons is rhetorical stress. And the reason I think that this is a trochee opening is because when you have the did also real enough. But you would not be incorrect if you were to say how I was tempted either. So that's really how you're hearing the poem in your head. Like I said, both scans are correct. It's just what you want to do with it. And beg for forgiveness. Now here's a little bit of the dilemma that the character is having, but which is these two lines. But when I was through, suppose you didn't care or called my bluff. So really, the major thing that's keeping the narrator from doing this, from telling a lie, is they're afraid of how to word this emotionally. I wouldn't say rejection. I would say apathy from their partner. Like, oh, I don't care, do whatever. Like that to them is like, hearing that would be the most painful thing ever, and that's why they don't want to go there, because they're afraid of what will happen. I also want to say that this poem is a sonnet, and I really, just as a note, really like the enough and bluff rhyme. I think that was a really brilliant rhyme. But anyways, before I move on the line, there's one more thing I want to touch, and that's the word didn't. I've said this before. There are 4 letters that can stand as their own syllables, and that is R, L, M, and N. And this word really highlights that, didn't. Because traditionally, when people mark syllables, they mark the vowels. But didn't only has one vowel. But if you were to scan this line, like, I'll just do it quickly. Suppose, you really, on the suppose, it's really would be the O here that's taking the stress. You did, the I. But then you don't have another vowel here. But care is indeed stressed. And that's because the N here is actually acting as its own syllable. So that's just as a reminder. But you will also see some poems where they don't consider this a syllable, and it's just hard to explain. As you go on and read a lot of metrical poetry, you will come to see this. So the last 2 lines, I think, actually end with a kind of an ironic note, and they are, so here I am, too innocent to lie, and not quite miserable enough to say goodbye. And basically why I think this is ironic is because this in itself is almost a lie, because they're so miserable. Like, the lie is that, how to put it, it's not that bad. That's basically what the narrator said. Well, I'm going to stay because it's not that bad. But it is that bad because the narrator is considering telling a lie just so it can all end. So it's like they're saying, I don't want to lie, but they really are lying to themselves, at least, because, like I said, they are really considering telling this terrible lie just to end a relationship and get out of it. The last thing I want to touch on is the ending line, and this is actually a iambic hexameter. Here I'm gonna break this line apart. Not quite yeah, break that apart so you can kind of see it. I'm talking about. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This has 6 beats, and a lot of poets, actually a considerable amount of poets, will often end their last line or last couplet in a hexameter, iambic hexameter. And the reason they do that is they want the final line or couplet to stand out from the rest of the poem. And there's actually 2 things that the poet does here to do that. The first is having an extra beat, that makes the ending line, the conclusion, stand out. And the second thing is, if you look, all these lines, with the exception of line number 2, have a pause in it. And a pause in the rhythm is usually done through a grammatical break. So, like a comma, a period, any type of punctuation mark. So we got punctuation here. You got, a period here. You got 2 here. You got the comma after crime, and the hyphen after between questions and more. You got a comma here. You got a period here. You got a period here. Hyphen, dash, dash. You got parentheses. Another period. Question mark. Colon. But the final line has no punctuation mark that occurs within the line. So that alone sets it apart from the rest of the poem. And that's what the two devices they're doing to make this line stand out. They are adding an extra beat, and they are not having any eternal punctuation mark that occurs. And it's just little things like that add up. This is kind of an advanced idea. Timothy Steele goes over it in his book, All the Funs and How You Say a Thing. It's a book on how to write meter. But it really, he really has a chapter dedicated to how ending a poem is done through stuff like this. Let's see, is there any other things I missed? One more thing. And the last thing I want to touch on is just a little bit of a rhetoric. There is an oxymoron that occurs in line 2, and that would be a splendid. This adjective is, you could almost say this adjective right here, splendid, is an inappropriate adjective for this noun, mele culpa, culpa, sorry. And it's kind of created an oxymoron. An oxymoron is when you have, like, if you were to say, like, cold fire, or dry water, or what other thing? Rough silk. Just something that's like you're taking two concepts that are opposite and combining them together. That's an oxymoron. And in this one, like, you wouldn't, admitting error, admitting that you're at fault, admitting that you did something bad isn't something that's splendid. So that's what makes it an oxymoron. Other than that, this is a pretty straightforward poem. What I really like is the subtext. I think it's just on a basic, if you were just to read this through and not really look into it, you would miss a lot of the subtle clues of what's going on. And like I said, I really believe this is a poem about the narrator, like, upset with the romantic partner, or whether or not they're having an affair or just not living up to their expectations. They don't really go into what it is that the partner has done. But I would consider it probably having an affair, because they're thinking of sex. Like that's just what I come to a conclusion, but it might not be that. And that's pretty much it for this poem. Like I said, one more last thing. This is a sonnet, so I just want to go briefly over before we end. There's 3 things that make a sonnet a sonnet. One is a rhyme pattern, which it's A, B, A, B, A. Wait, I'm sorry. A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F. Is it G, 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 G? H, H. That's one. 2 is most sonnets written on iambic pentameter. As we can see here, I'll just scan the first line. Just once, just if you put the highlights on it, just once. I'd like to try it. I could make you can kind of see the beat, and this occurs in all the lines pretty much, with the exception of a few variations and substitutions I pointed out. And the last thing that makes a sonnet, this is actually the most important part, is there's usually a rhetorical turn either in the last two lines or in the it would be starting in line 9. I don't really get anything in line 9 that let's see, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I don't really get anything in line 9, but I do think the last two lines are the rhetorical turn in the poem, because what happens is, they want to do something, but they have some debate. What are they going to do? And then finally they make the decision. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just not miserable enough to leave this relationship. So that's the conclusion. That's the turn. Like, you can almost consider a sonnet, like, a good way of considering a sonnet is a sonnet has a question and an answer, a problem and a solution, a dilemma and a decision. That's kind of like that A-B type of thinking is what occurs in a sonnet. That's the structure of it. That's really what makes a sonnet along with the rhyming scheme and the it being an iambic pentameter. So I hope that this video has helped you guys tonight. I'm going to be probably doing a lot more shorter videos like this over the next few weeks, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. All right, bye.